So, unfortunately, I do have some bad news. I won't be able to watch tonight's CCL match that involved MLS team between the Revs and Pumas and also Cruz Azul versus Montreal because I've just got a call a couple of minutes ago that I have to cover someone tonight, and it sucks the fact that I have to work again. Hopefully, maybe I'll negotiate with my boss a little bit the fact that I do have to work on Sunday morning and afternoon, that maybe I can take that Saturday off in exchange of me have to work today, because on Saturday there are those busy MLS action, but we'll see if that of course would work out. But that also means that basically I'll still do the review of both of these games, but it's not going to be as detailed as you saw from my video yesterday, where I did watch both of these games, and I'll basically just kind of rely on the highlights, and especially rely on the highlights that 2DM basically provide to me after the game is over. But that being said, in terms of news of the week, and there really isn't a lot of news that happened in these past couple of days. I mean, again, ever since the MLS regular season had begun, those transfer talks and some crazy rumors have started to die down a little bit. But we did have a signing today that was announced from Charlotte FC after they acquired Derek Jones from Houston for $250,000 general allocation money. And overall, I think this is a decent signing. I mean, Derek Jones, unfortunately, he's kind of started becoming a little bit of a journeyman, a guy that, when he was with Nashville, there was a lot of people say he could have some high potential. And then I thought with him going to the Houston Dynamo, it might be a change of scenery, and no, it wasn't. He was more kind of a utility player. Though, that being said, Charlotte, they desperately need some help right now. Not only on the attacking end, but pretty much everywhere right now, with the way that they still look like a mess after their first two games of the season. And I think Derek Jones is definitely a good answer to that, and especially they didn't even have to give up that much to get him, only $250,000 general allocation money, and they also are actually going to receive some general allocation money from the Houston Dynamo to $50,000 for next year. Now, moving on, in terms of next news, is that Domenico Crististo, he will not join Toronto FC at least until July. Now, from what I heard is that it seems like he want to stay with Genoa to try to keep the team to be alive in Serie A, as Genoa is in a relegation battle. And I did check the Serie A table today, and yeah, the hopes of Genoa potentially staying in Serie A is not a good chance, because they're actually really far away from the relegation line. But it seems like he wants to join there to see if Genoa can basically stay in Serie A, and if he doesn't, then maybe he'll make the move to TFC. Though, I know there's also people kind of jokingly saying that, yeah, I'm guessing he didn't want to join TFC after what happened this past weekend, when TFC was just getting absolutely ripped apart by the Redbulls on the attack, and again, he won no part of that. But, yeah, I think overall, we'll see whether or not in the summer transfer window, if TFC is going to bring him in, and especially I think they need to bring him in, especially with the way that defense, yeah, it was not good whatsoever. And this is the big concern for this team coming into the season, where they did make some big signing, mostly on the attacking end, and also they did bring in a DP center back in Sebastian Salcedo from Tigres. But again, I just feel like that's not enough in terms of trying to get this team back to be an MLS Cup contender, especially with that backline of how much of a mess that it still is for this upcoming season. Well, not for this upcoming season, but for right now. I mean, the season obviously have started yet. Now, there is a report suggesting that Newcastle United is report to offload Miguel Almiron in the summer, and I know instantly the MLS media is going to say, yep, Miguel Almiron is going to come back to MLS. Which, again, I think there could be a chance that maybe someday Almiron would come back to MLS, but not now. I don't think he's going to be coming back, if ever too, because I feel like Miguel Almiron, he wants to eventually move on to Europe, and he's pretty much a staple example of what happened when a team go down to South America and find a hidden gem and eventually sell them off for a big amount of money. I don't think we're going to see a case where he's going to come back anytime soon, and especially there is now rumor saying that it seems like he's going to be going to Spain and going to Real Betis instead of what the MLS media is trying to portray, that yep, this means that Atlanta is going to try to get Almiron back. I mean, first of all, in order for Atlanta to do that, they need to of course somehow get themselves at the top of the allocation order, which right now, oh god, I actually don't know which team, right? I think Charlotte right now is at the top of the allocation order, so they're gonna have to make some deal with Charlotte in order to get that spot. But also, I just feel like Atlanta, the way that they build, it seems like they have already moved on from Miguel Almiron, and especially you don't bring Thiago Amanda to your team just to maybe think about getting Miguel Almiron back in the summer transfer window. That just does not make any sense whatsoever. So yeah, I don't think he's going to be going to Atlanta or coming back to MLS, and that mostly he's going to be staying in Europe. Despite I know the media here in MLS are really hoping that Almiron can come back in the league and once again light up the league like he did when he was with Atlanta a couple of years ago. Now, moving on, in terms of the next news, is that Steve Cherundolo have said that he actually took off Carlos Vela at halftime because of precautionary reason. Now, there is some good news and bad news about this. The good news is, at least for LAFC fans, is that this has to be a sigh of relief, because there was a case that it seemed like maybe Vela suffered an injury to be taking off at halftime. But the bad news is, and the big concern about this is the fact that, it feels odd, the fact that Giordano decided to take off Vela for precautionary reason at halftime. Like, they're literally were down 1-0 against the Portland Timbers. You do not take off your best player, albeit your best player that might have injury concern, at halftime when you're, of course, down in a game. And that also kind of is a big telling story of what is LAFC going to do with Vela. I mean, Vela have already expressed that he wants to go back to Europe, or potentially going down to Inter Miami once his contract is over. But, for LAFC, this is a difficult situation that they're in, and that, it's also a difficult situation in terms of, if they decide to re-sign Vela, it's definitely good to have their star back for these next couple of years, but you don't know if he, of course, is going to be healthy or not. And again, with the way that Giordano kind of worded, it feels like maybe Vela is actually dealing with a knock, but he's just kind of hiding it by saying it's only for precautionary reasons. Nothing is actually wrong with Carlos Vela, when in reality maybe something is going on. And again, Vela has had a bad record with his health, and the fact that he's been on the IR for a lot in these last couple of years, and that is the reason why it doesn't seem like it's going to be something that LAFC wants to do. I mean, it will be definitely tough for the fan base to realize Vela could potentially move on from them, but I think the front office will realize that is it worth to pay him a lot of money when he could potentially be once again injury prone and might not even play half of the games that we have, and especially in the most important game that we have for when they do get to the playoffs. Now, moving on in terms of the next news, so we had a couple of retirement. First of all, it was announced that Wright Phillips, also known as BWP, has announced his retirement and set to join the Redbulls front office. And I am definitely going to do a video about BWP and what a legendary career he is definitely regarded as one of the best center forward to ever play into this league. And as I said, there's definitely going to be a video about it, most likely tomorrow, when I talk about the career of BWP, not only in MLS but also going back to his day before he joined the Red Bulls and playing in England. Another announcement of retirement came from the Union, as Elzinho has announced his retirement after playing for the Union for 6 seasons. And I'm also kind of highly debate, should I also maybe do an Elzinho kind of career video too, because Elzinho, he is definitely considered one of the best super sub to ever play in this league. And I know super sub usually don't get as much attention as starters, but yeah, I mean, the way that Elzinho, especially during his time with the Union in the first couple of seasons, he was absolutely a cheat code coming off the bench. So if you need someone that can instantly make you some impact, Elzinho is definitely the guy to do so. And again, I'm thinking, should I of course make a video about him? I mean, probably I will make a career video about Elzinho and how it's just so uncharacteristic to see a guy that I would also say that he's kind of almost like a cult hero with the Philadelphia Union. Like, the fan base really loved Elzinho, and that I think maybe that's also another reason why he will definitely regard in the Union fan base. And I know they also have kind of like a ring of honor at Subaru Park. I won't be surprised if Elzinho will end up onto that list, even though he's not really a regular starter, but more as a super sub. Now, moving on in terms of the next news, and this is a news that I'm pretty sure everybody have already heard about. And to this day, it is still sickening to see this event that unfold in Liga MX on Saturday in that game between Queretaro and Atlas, or actually it's Queretaro versus Atlas. I want to pronounce it correctly there. But yeah, I mean, I don't really need to go too deep into the situation because it's all over the news of an ugly brawl that happened in the stadium, and I've already heard the sanction that has had with Queretaro and the fact that they are going to be playing a whole season without fans, and even their owner is forced to sell the team and even banished from Liga MX for 5 seasons. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely sad to see the situation, and also, I think what's even more disturbing about this situation, besides them showing it on live TV, is that when you look at the Twitter reaction to it, they show a lot of disturbing image that, yeah, I won't really kind of talk too much into it because I don't think that's appropriate to say it here on YouTube. But believe me, just do not look at those images if you haven't already seen it. It's absolutely disgusting and disturbing to see, and it's just kind of a quick reminder of how, I know soccer is a game, or football is a game that everybody used to as a way to kind of escape from the hustle and bustle of everyday life, and you want to, of course, support your team the most and be very passionate. But there's one difference between being passionate and then just crossing that line, and I think in that game between Queretaro and Atlas, and especially the Barra for Queretaro, they definitely crossed the line. I mean, it was absolutely disgusting to see that, of course, is happening. And I also know that there's a lot of overreaction in terms of this. I know there's a lot of people saying that Liga MX team should be kicked out of CCL, and also Mexico should be kicked out of the World Cup qualifier. In my honest opinion, I'm not going to usually reach to that argument, because maybe that's a little bit too much and a little bit of a overreaction. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, let's just hope things, of course, we get better. And also, let's hope that, eventually, one of the other disturbing thing about this event is that it seems like the Mexican government is doing the same thing of what happened in the Hillsborough situation in 1989. I mean, for those of you that don't know the Hillsborough situation in 1989, when like hundreds of Liverpool fans were well, not 100, but exactly 96 Liverpool fans was crushed to death, and then the authority, they kind of trying to cover up for a very long time before they finally spoke out about this issue a couple years ago. It seemed like they're doing the same thing here, and it's sad to see, because I feel like justice needs to be put up, and that it's kind of despicable, the fact that they're trying to cover this up, even though it's pretty obvious that in this day of social media. I mean, I get the reason why that situation in Hillsborough in 1989 was cover up, and they did it relatively well, is because back then there was no social media and no kind of new. Well, there was news outlet, but it was basically everybody was just looking at the newspaper and they just believe whatever it is. Nowadays, that's not how it works. I mean, with the social media era, you just simply cannot cover up a story without a lot of people kind of talking about it. And there's even evidence of the fact that it is pretty clear that what they're trying to cover up is not going to help their reputation. But yeah, it's definitely an ugly situation to see, and it's definitely a dark day in terms of this sport, and certainly a dark day in Mexican soccer, where I know Mexican soccer has always labeled as a especially with their fans being kind of on the violent side, and this definitely does not help their image. But it's really sad to see that, of course, has happened, and let's just hope eventually they'll figure things out, and that hopefully we'll eventually use this as a lesson of how sometimes you even if you're very passionate with your team, you cannot cross the line to inflict violence on other people or even other fan base just because you're very passionate to a team. Now, that being said, moving on into the last topic, and this is kind of related to the last topic that I talked about, is that the CCL match between Cruz Azul versus CF Montreal is reported to play behind closed door. Now, it's not official that they are going to be playing behind closed door, but it seemed like that could be the case because of that situation. By the way, Liga MX have already postponed all the matches on Sunday, and I think they also postponed all the matches for this upcoming weekend. But yeah, if this game is played behind closed door, I think Montreal does get a slight advantage because it's one thing to play at the Azteca in a hostile environment compared to playing behind closed door, and that there's no doubt playing behind closed door you do get a bit more advantage. But still, Montreal is definitely going to be up for it because Cruz Azul, I think they are still the strongest team in this competition, and that I feel like this might be similar to what we see with Toronto, of how how TFC were able to get that surprising win against Leon. And even though I know Montreal, when they beat Santos Laguna, it was kind of expected because Santos was really struggling in the league, but it just feels like maybe we're going to see deja vu all over again, where the Canadian Championship team got a big win against a Liga MX opponent, but then when they had to face against Cruz Azul, yeah, that's a whole different story. But who knows? Maybe Montreal can pull off the upset again, and that, in this game, if it is them playing with behind closed door, they might have a better shot in terms of getting a result compared to if they are going to be playing in a hostile environment down at the Azteca. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of this video, and if there's any news I didn't mention here on the board that you want me to talk about, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.